All right, folks, we're going to save our work now. I've got my mechanism made. It's got the shaft there. I've got a named sketch for the mechanism and for the shaft. And of course, I've got a named component for the mechanism. So everything lines up. If I need to edit my mechanism, I know where to go, what sketch to work from. So I've got my first component pulled out, and I'd like to save that. I'll hit the Save button over here, and I'm going to give it a name. And this is going to be called Clock Demo Home Learning. There we go. So I've got a location for it. It's Learning with Grade 9. That's actually a project. And if I hit the little triangle here, I can disclose all the projects that I've already made in the past. I can make a new one, which I strongly recommend that you do for every project that you make. So I've already got one, so I'm going to use it there. But if you don't have one, hit New Project. I'll hit Save. That will now save a version of our project. It's going to be V0. Of course, every time I save, it'll increment the version. So the next time I save, it'll be V1, and the next time after that, V2, and so on. All right, there we go. I'd like to add my clock face right now, so I will do that by dropping a sketch onto this face. We can sketch on any planar surface, so faces on objects, they work. So I'll click, sorry, I beg your pardon. I will hit Create Sketch, drop that onto the top of the clock mechanism, which is where the clock face is going to live, and I'm going to drop a center circle right around that origin point, and I'll dial in 300 millimeters and hit Return. As I zoom back in, I can see that it's got 300, and everything's gone from blue to black, and that's because I tied it to known geometry. I connected to the origin point, and I gave it a dimension. So Fusion knows where it's connected and how big it is. I will finish my sketch. I'll zoom back out, and now I'm going to extrude my clock face. To do this, I will hit the Extrude command, and I will select a profile. Now, I can see right away I'm going to make a mistake if I don't do something different, and that's because I've selected the outside of the clock, but I haven't selected this inside part. Every time you have a closed shape, that'll make a sketch profile. So I need to identify all of the sketch profiles all at once. Over here in the Extrude dialog, I've got one selected. If I click on the inside here, I will now have one. It's not going to extrude up the hole for the shaft. That's fine. I need the shaft to poke through. But in this case, I am going to select the option to make a new component because I want the clock face to be a separate component. I will then give it a distance to extrude up. In this case, I need to tell Fusion, the thickness of my material. For that, I will need to modify my parameters. So here, I will add a user parameter, and I will create one for thickness. And this will be the thickness of the material that I'm going to put inside the laser cutter. I'll set that to 3 because that's our most common thickness. I'll say OK. And I'll reinvoke my command, and I'll select my sketch profiles. I've got 2 of them. I'm going to type in T for thickness, and immediately Fusion tells me that I've got a parameter that starts with T. So I'll click thickness, and then I will change the operation to new component, and it should create for me now a new clock face component that is 3 millimeters thick. I'll say OK, and I get a component. There it is. I will give that a name, and I'll call that clock face. I'll go back to my sketch, and I'll name that clock face, and there we go. So at this point, I have 2 components in my project, and there they are. And if I select one, it'll kind of isolate it. I can kind of see it. There we go. Isn't that lovely? If I want to go into full isolation mode, I have to activate the component. So I click on the little dot there, and now I can see my component isolated from the rest, and all the other ones go transparent. And this allows you to see complex projects with many, many parts. We've only got 2 now, so it's not that huge a difference, but you do get the idea that you can select things and then turn all the little components kind of semi-transparent so you get better visibility. Now, at this point, when you've activated a subcomponent of a big assembly, you are only working inside of that component. So right now, I'm only working inside the mechanism, and if I click the clock face, I'd only be working inside the clock face. And what normally you'll want to do is activate the top level of the project. Now I'm working in all of them, and every time I create a sketch or a construction thing or any other aspect of the project, it'll go to the top level of the project. But if I'm working down here and I activate that, then all of those things would then end up down here. So if I added a construction plane or a joint or any other thing, it would end up inside that component. For this project, I'd like you to work at the top level, so activate your top level component. Okay, well, that's it for saving our work. And in fact, we have a working version of our demo clock, so this is it. Later, we'll add on some other features in future videos. That's what I've got for now.